Hi dear friends, welcome back to Akshadare. Let's start reading the newspaper, today newspaper. Before going to start the newspaper reading, I would request you guys to please subscribe the channel, like and comment. If you like the video, please share with your friends so that I can bring very informative videos in the upcoming days. Let's start reading the newspaper. Yes guys, let's start reading the newspaper. Let's see what's in the today news. We will play notice inviting offers. Sonia lists 9 issues for a special session, taking a G20 to the last mile. After compliance, Daikin syrup recalled. India, Bharat, and a host of implications. Existing practice is wise, constitutionally correct. Rao Pimar star in Pakistan's easy win. 40 injured in protest over army barricade in Manipur. Security personnel fired tear gas shells to disperse 10,000 protesters who assembled in Bishnupur, defying curfew. Miscreants opened fire and threw stones at central posts. 3 RAF Jawans injured. It may not be feasible to release water after September 12, as seen a key pillar of Act East policy. As relief for editors, guild journalists. After record high tomato price crashes to 10 per kg. BMTC eliminates higher night services. Wajirao and Ravi. After record high tomato price crashes to 10 per kg in Kola and Kalashipalli wholesale markets. Kola served as the lifeline for tomatoes for almost the whole of India between May and July when the crop had failed everywhere else. Prices of most other veggies also crashed. 4 involved in house break-ins held. Press notice. Faculty on Science. BMTC eliminates higher fare night services. It used to charge 1.5 times the regular fare for services between 11 pm and 5 am. Women 11-year-old son found murdered at home in T. Dasar. The murder came to light when neighbors noticed gas leaking from the house and tried to call the women. A 33-year-old woman and her 11-year-old son were found murdered at their house in Ravindranagar in T. Dasarali on Tuesday. The deceased have been identified as Navanita, a call center employee, and her son Sai Srujan. The duo were found dead on the bed. Stab injury. The police said while Navanita had a stab injury on her neck and was holding a knife in her right hand, Sai Srujan was frothing and is suspected to have choked to death. The murder came to light when neighbors noticed gas leaking from the house and tried to call Navanita, but there was no response. They later called Navanita's mother, who asked her son to visit the house. By then, the neighbor broke open the window to find the duo lying dead on the bed. The police gained entry into the house and shifted the bodies for the post mortem after conducting spot inspections. Enquiries with the family revealed that Navanita was married to Chandru, a wall painter, and the couple had 2 children. The other son, Sai Abhishek, was studying in a boarding school in Andhra Pradesh, while the younger son, Sujan, stayed with the parents. Lakshmi Yamma, mother of Navanita, complained the police that Chandru was an alcoholic and used to harass Navanita frequently and beat her up. The family had warned him to amend his ways, but he would come home drunk and beat up Navanita and had threatened to kill her. Based on the complaint, the police have registered a case of murder and detained Chandru for questioning while awaiting the post-mortem report to ascertain the cause of death. High security number plates can help reduce crime rate. Man booked for creating ruckus on CRPF campus. Radio calls Private Transport Association for talks again. Band is not a solution to every problem, and the government is always ready for talks. Mango exports via KIA grow by 124% in 2023. It may not be feasible to release Kaveri water after September 12th, state tells FX Court. Truck terminal to come up in Raichur district. Kumaraswamy holds meeting with party leaders. Government considering carving out Madhugiri district. Shivanand Patil comes under attack from BJP for his remarks on farmer suicides. BJP State Vice President B.Y. Vijayendra and said the Congress government is yet to decide on drought despite a drought-like situation prevailing in more than 196 taluks in the state. Indian Institute of Forest Management Parameshwara criticized for questioning Sanatana Dharma. Bagalkot Kuduchi railway line to be completed by the end of 2025. Karnataka's first elephant care facility tells trumpeting tales of resilience. From courting tourist up and down the steep ports of Rajasthan to begging on the streets, these majestic creatures have been exploited for commercial and financial gains. We are committing to restoring lost investment climate in Karnataka. Pain clinic at Victoria Hospital inaugurated. Youth's death in Asan, Memelia's concern. Two just a taster, UB's 40 UB Potties Campbell. Head of his performances in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bengaluru, the British reggae legend Ali Campbell speaks about everything from UB Potty's split to why he continues to be enamored with reggae. Authentic Goan Saraswat cousin to pop up in the city, showcasing a new pace in Odyssey. NIA arrest IS Trishur modules chief in Chennai. Syed Nabil Ahmad was arrested just as he was preparing to flee the country using forged travel documents. Ahmad has been named as an accused person in a case in Kochi. Researchers discovered white sambar in Kaveri Sanctuary. CPI sees a close contest in Kerala by poll. Congress confident of win. NASA's LRO captures landing site of Chandrayaan 3. Mixed reactions to system of 3 annual exams for class 10th, 12th students in Karnataka. IBM renews collaboration with IITB and IISc to drive hybrid cloud AI innovation. AP Court adjourns Kodi Kathi case to September 20. India Bharat had a host of applications. Let's read this editorial page. There are historical, ideological, constitutional, and international implications associated with the words Bharat and India. A political dimension has been added to these names, words arising out of some opposition parties coming together under the banner of and acronym India for the Indian National and Developmental Inclusive Alliance. For these parties in the opposition, the unprecedented use of President of Bharat instead of President of India, as seen in an invitation called by the President to the heads of states and governments and chief ministers of an official banquet on the occasion of the G20 summit is an account of the Narendra Modi government's concern that India may become politically potent. Keeping politics aside, it would be useful to examine some of other aspects mentioned in the first sentence to arrive at a degree of clarity on Bharat and India. From the pages of history, a brief look at the controversy raised by the Muslim League over the name India in 1947 would be in order. The transfer of power from the British to Indian hands in 1947 was through the British Parliament's Indian Independence Act of 1947. It created two dominions, India and Pakistan, and released the princely states from British paramountcy, thereby technically making them independent and sovereign. At the same time, the British advised the princely states to join one of the two dominions. Most did so before August 15, 1947. Thus, two dominions came into being in what was British India and the princely states in the subcontinent. Pakistani leader favored that India should be named either Hindustan or Bharat. They argued that two successor states had emerged from the dissolution of the Indian Empire, Pakistan and Hindustan or Bharat. India's position was that it was the successor state to British India in terms of international law, and the British, and that Pakistan had seceded from India. Hence, while India retained its international personality, including its membership of the United Nations, Pakistan, as a new state created through secession, would have to take steps to acquire an international personality. The matter was finally decided in India's favor, and Pakistan was compelled to take steps to establish its international status, including applying for a membership of the UN, which incidentally Afghanistan opposed. India retained the name India in all international and multilateral fora. Thus, the country's international personality was and continues to be denoted by the word India. Generally, whenever the English language is used in international, multilateral, or bilateral settings, the word India is used. The latest example is the joint statement issued on August 25 on Prime Minister Modi's visit to Greece. It is available on the Ministry of External Affairs website, and it is entitled India Greece Joint Statement. The last sentence of this document says Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended an invitation to Prime Ministers Mitsotakis to visit India. In letters of credence in English given by the President of India to ambassadors designate under the lion's emblem, the word in India, Rashtrapati Bharat Gantantra are written, and under them the words President Republic of India written in English. Thus, in Hindi, Bharat is used, while in English it is India. Under the 58th Amendment, for an authoritative background of the English and Hindi versions, it is best to turn to the 58th Amendment of the Constitution done in 1987. Its statement of objects and reasons mentions that the Constitution of India was adopted by the Constituent Assembly in English. A Hindi translation of the Constitution, signed by the members of the Constituent Assembly, was also published in 1950 under the authority of the President of the Constituent Assembly in accordance with a resolution adopted by that Assembly. The 58th Amendment empowered the President to have published under his authority the authoritative text in Hindi language of the Constitution, which could be used in the legal process too. Thus, the Hindi text of the Constitution published by the government following the amendment is authoritative. The English language version of the Constitution is entitled Constitution of India. Its Article 1 of 1 is India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. The primacy in this formulation is given to the word India. The Hindi version is titled Bharat Ka Samvidhan. Article 1 of 1 in Hindi version reads Bharat Artharth India, Rajyon ka Sangh hoga. The word Artharth means that is clearly in Hindi version primacy is given to the word Bharat. The logic of the formulations has led to the practice of using the word India in the English language and Bharat in Hindi. That practice has prevailed in internal documents as well as international documents, which are generally in English. Thus, the Gazette published in English is called the Gazette of India, and in Hindi it is Bharat Ka Rajpatra. Uh, it is true that the word India and its variants such as Hindi in Arabic are of foreign origin. It is generally believed that these were used by foreigners to denote the land south and east of the Indus or Sindhu River. During Afghan and Mughal rule, the northern areas of the Indian subcontinent were largely referred to as Hindustan and later the Europeans, especially the British, roughly referred to not only the northern region but also to all the subcontinent as India. However, for them it was a geographical expression. The rise of a constitution is that all the people living in the Indian subcontinent constituted a single nation was a product of the Indian Renaissance. One of its streams sought ancient roots of Indian nationalism that gave rise to the idea, especially among sections particularly devoted to the revival of India's ancient civilizational past, that it was unacceptable that the country and nation should carry a name given by foreigners. For them, the preferred word was Bharat, with its variations in different languages. For others, such as Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, a syncretic word, perhaps acceptable to most people, including those believing in different faiths, was more useful. That word has Hind. It is used even today, and the emotive expression Jai Hind is used by public personalities and the highest office holders. In a speech on Independence Day this year, the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, concluded by saying Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. The risk of alienation. It is now clear that the Sangha Parivar and the Narendra Modi government wish to use the word Bharat. Their preference for Bharat instead of the word India is clear. The use of formulation President of Bharat in the G20 invitation is a giveaway. They may also begin to use Bharat in the English language in the government's internal documents. The problem is that they cannot do so internationally unless they officially change the country's name to Bharat and drop India. By doing so, they may alienate parts of the country which prefer India to Bharat. In any event, the tradition of using India in English and Bharat in Hindi is wise and constitutionally correct. Should its change be a priority? No. Don't know. Let's go to the next. Bridging the malnutrition gap, the Bamatara way. What it is exactly? It is often said that simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. Experience has taught us that simple things may not always be easy, but are often the most effective solutions. In this light, counseling people on eating and feeding practices along with monitoring their progress can prove to be a game changer. Over the years, the government has made painstaking efforts to ensure food security. Now, children have midday meals in their schools, and people receive monthly rations through an ever improving public distribution system. Ready to eat packets and art meals are served to mothers and children at Anganwadi centers under the Prime Minister's overarching scheme for holistic nourishment Abhiyan. For the various arts such as egg, banana protein powders, peanut chicky, and jaggery are also being distributed under various special state specific schemes. An example being the Mukhyamantri Suposhan Yojana in Chhattisgarh. But nutrition security is still a distant dream. People often lack knowledge of proper eating and feeding practices. Myths around food and increased accessibility to highly processed food have compounded the problem. Nutrition counseling can potentially be the answer to this problem. It is important to note that Jan Andolan, our social and behavior change communication, has been a facet of Poshan Abhiyan. This includes bicycle rallies, plantation of Poshan Vaticas, celebration of Poshan Poshan Pakwaras, and God Barais. Different states have held various awareness programs under the SBCC. However, the concept of nutrition counseling has yet to be properly institutionalized and implemented uniformly across states. In fact, according to the Poshan Abhiyan Progress Report 2018, a focused and coherent SBCC action plan is essential to take the work of Poshan Abhiyan forward. Thus, there is a need for field staff to be properly trained in nutritional counseling, and there is a need for it to be implemented mandatorily and uniformly by states. Lessons from Bemathara. Bemathara in Chhattisgarh is a puzzling district in the context of its malnutrition status. Situated in the fertile plains of Chhattisgarh, it is unaffected by nationalized activities and is agriculturally rich. Its inhabitants are also relatively affluent. However, the number of severe acute malnutrition children that there was a high as 299 in December 2022. This figure bears a striking resemblance to the situation in tribal dominated and national affected districts such as Bastar. It points to the lack of proper knowledge about feeding practices. The problem is not about access but improper knowledge around when, how the how and what to eat. This is why nutrition counseling combined with the robust monitoring was chosen as the modus operandi for this area. Poth Laika Abhiyan, which means healthy child mission, literal translation in the Chhattisgarh language, is a nutrition counseling program that is being implemented in 72 of the most affected IAWCs in the Bemethara subdivision of Bemethara district. It has the technical support of UNICEF Chhattisgarh. Here, ground level staff from the health and women and child development departments have been well trained on how to provide nutrition counseling in the region. Every Friday, the parents of the targeted SAM and medium acute malnutritioned children are summoned and counseled. They are taught in simple Chhattisgarhi language the importance and the constituents of Tiranga Bhojan, a balanced diet, the need to wash hands regularly, and many other tips in order to lead a healthy lifestyle. Many harmful dietary myths and superstitions are dispelled as well. The progress of the targeted children is being monitored. Local leaders such as Sarpanch, Panchayat Sachivs, and religious heads have also participated in the counseling sessions. Door to door visits to the houses of targeted children are also done to monitor their progress. Data that is encouraging and it is significant. As a result of the simple mantra of nutrition counseling, along with regular monitoring and evaluation, as many as 53.77% of targeted children were brought out of malnutrition by the Poth Laika Abhiyan in a span of 9 months, that is from December 2022 to July 2023. 599 out of 1,114 children. Further, 61.5% of MAM children and 14.67% of SAM children have been brought out of malnutrition. These figures are both encouraging and statistically significant when comparing this with a random control group of 20 AWCs where this mission was not being implemented. Only 30.6% children were taken out of malnutrition, that is 33.8% MAM children and 0 SAM children were taken out of malnutrition. This shows a total increase of 23% over and above the control group, which is very encouraging. Further, while providing meals requires elaborate budgeting and risk of leakages, this mission is a zero cost one, requiring no more than a few training sessions and regular monitoring. That is, it has shown itself to be cost effective as well as. From the experiences highlighted, there is no doubt that this model needs to be replicated on a larger scale across the districts and states. Providing food to the poor needs to be supported with nutrition counseling and monitoring in order to truly accelerate the eradication of malnutrition. It is only when this simple but impactful strategy of nutrition counseling is followed both in letter and sprint. That India can move closer towards achieving the ambitious yet noble dream of a Kuposhan Mukt Bharat. Let's go to the next page. It is about the malnutrition in the Chhattisgarh. Petulant intimidation, fact-finding ventures in Manipur should not be silenced by police action. India, that is Bharat. For an expense of blue, with air so clean, the first 100 days hurdle. The Congress government is trying to bring all on board before 2024. Most Indians who consume news online like to watch, not read. In India, the role of mobile news aggregators as primary news sources is on the rise. Disruption in dissemination. The data of the charts was sourced from the Reuters Institute Digital News Report 2023. For the report, research was conducted by U-Government using an online questionnaires at the end of January, beginning of the February 2023. Data from India, Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa are representative of younger English speakers and not the national population. Ready to hold polls Hezbollah, says CEC. 40 injured in a protest over army barricade. Constitution does not allow abuse of any religion. Modi Udaya Nidhi's remarks on Sanatana Dharma require proper response based on facts of the issue. PM tells ministers at an informal meeting. Blocking blacklisting of terrorists smacks of doublespeak. India. Submit status report on recovery of forms. Can't hack or tamper with EVMs, says EC. Special session called following all rules, regulations, prowler. Opposition not consulted about special session, Sonia. SPG Chief Arun Kumar Sinha dies in Gurugram Hospital. CFA Institute Business Line to host a webinar tomorrow. Taking G20 to the last mile, leaving none behind. New look up Delhi will leave a lasting impression on G20 guest minister. PWD Minister Atishi lauds lots efforts of multiple agencies in giving the city a makeover. Says several major road stretches have been redeveloped to European standards and extensive beautification work taken up. Praises Center for Bharat Mandapam. Ukraine is top priority for European Union, says official. PM lists the do's and don'ts for ministers during G20 summit. Asina data, Nepal WHO veteran via fee for India's vote. Retired judges right to G20 to repatriate children. India drops tariffs on US lentils. Almonds had a Biden's visit. During his state visit to the US in June, Narendra Modi and the Biden administration had agreed to resolve 6 bilateral trade disputes. CDSCO issues alert after firm recalls antacid syrup. BSI gets patent for reusable straw made from bamboo. Former Raj secretary provided Jets category security. Aditya Dicky Singh, prominent wildlife photographer, dead. India and Bharat retained to align varied views in Constituent Assembly. India has been known as India throughout history, and throughout all these past years, the name of the country is India. Is a member of the United Nations. All agreements have been signed under the name. NISs such as in UP to thwart CPI revival. Slapping up Muzaffarnagar student. SEK seeks a report. Pancharatra Jayanti. UK set to ban Russia's Wagner Group as a terrorist organization. Sri Lanka to probe intelligence officials' role in Easter bombings. This summer was a record breaker for the highest heat measured. Myanmar junta jails a journalist for 20 years, says his employer. A Myanmar journalist arrested in May while covering the aftermath of a deadly cyclone has been jailed by junta authorities for 20 years. His employer said photojournalist Saija Taika was indicted on four charges, including breaching a natural disaster law and a telecommunication law. His conviction charge was not clear. Avoid a new Cold War, China tells nations at ASEAN meet to keep differences under control. What is essential now is to oppose picking sides, to oppose bloc confrontation, and to oppose a new Cold War, says Chinese Premier Li Zhuang at the summit. Russian strike kills F-16 in eastern Ukraine market. US to give depleted uranium rounds to Kiev. Pakistan sets a key border crossing with Afghanistan after God's exchange fire. EU's Digital Markets Act cracks down on tech companies with a set of guidelines. Far right Proud Boys leader gets 22 years for US Congress attack. G20 could pave way for crypto regulation, financial inclusion. Top official size signal a broad consensus among G20 members during talks. G20 leaders to now decide on how countries can regulate crypto assets. Ather Energy raises 900 crore from Euro Moto Corp GIC. DOS asks fintechs to keep to governance, adopt self-regulation. WGC India's Somasundaram to step down next year. Viability gap funding for battery energy storage gets government node. India Swift Labs to sell API CRAMS units for 1,650 crore. Thus unveils NPCI's digital payment products. Department of Science and Technology. TVS Motors aims to double Apache sales, confident of striking forward-looking FDA. Pakistan secures a commanding win. Hardik has a very mature head on his shoulders, says skipper Rohit. A race against time to get Premadasa Stadium ready. New Zealand completes stunning comeback as series ends 2-2. Warner should continue opening for Australia in the WC, says Marsh. Chahal signs up with Kent for remainder of county season. Djokovic to compete in All-Star matches preceding Ryder Cup. Hardik has a very mature ad on his shoulders, says skipper Rohit. A race against time to get Premadasa Stadium ready. Australia names a provisional spot for World Cup. BCCI to release 4 lakh more tickets from September 8. Shelton comes up trumps over Tiafoe in a dramatic duel. Faces Djokovic. Bopan and Ebden reach the semi-finals. Vachier Lagrave in a sole lead going into last day of Rapid. The top-seeded Frenchman is the only unbeaten player. Azerbaijan Radjabo is half a point behind, followed by Pragnananda, Gujarati, Gogesh of India, and Russia's Grischuk. Equal pay will help women's chess. Jew. Indian men's team loses in the semi-final, claims bronze. Sena Nayak detained for alleged match fixing. Indian challenge hands in China Open badminton. Jenny accuses Rubia Lils Els of sexual assault. AIFF urges ISL clubs to release Asia-bound footballers. Award to HH Sri Krishnaraja Wadiyar Memorial Trophy. A litmus test to find India's next striker after Chetri. The 39-year-old talisman has requested to be left out for personal reasons, and three number 9s Manvi, Rahim and Rahul have been named in the Kings Cup squad. Arthur Ashish Stadium are to be partially shut in extreme conditions. Finally, physicists have a way to see inside short-lived nuclei. Researchers at the Riken Nishina Center for Accelerator-Based Science in Japan have taken a big leap forward in the tradition of looking inside atoms by demonstrating a setup that can use electron scattering to probe the structure of unstable nuclei, including those that don't occur naturally. Bizarre bird like a dinosaur has scientists enthralled. Usually, the heavier the nucleus of an unstable element, the faster it will decay. But scientists have found some isotopes that decay slower than their heaviness would suggest. The obscure mathematics of string theory. Text and context is the last two pages. The prices of oil skyrocket to a 10-month high. PepsiCo's investment for its first manufacturing plant. Incentive offered by India to boost battery storage projects. Average global temperature in the past 3 months. The additional fund for an industrial development scheme. How unemployment is measured. The question of unemployment as the potential to make or break any government. In order to successfully tackle it, it is important to understand how it is defined and measured in a developing economy like India. Analyzing the job market. Measuring unemployment in India. In agrarian economies, there is a greater probability of finding some kind of work when compared to urban areas. This is the last piece. The good food a guide, building a healthy world for future generations. Public health experts warn that the children of today are at a risk of shorter life expectancy than their parents. For Nutrition Week, observed from September 1 to 7, here are some books on why informed choices need to be made about food and its sources to improve health and well-being. Know your English. This is the last. With social media, Abajan India's name purportedly being changed to Bharat. Try this quiz on countries which have had multiple names. This is the last page. It is very important little bit about health. Yes, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed the newspaper already. So I will bring the questionnaires in the next video about this session. See you in the upcoming videos, guys, and please subscribe the channel, like and comment for more videos related to healthcare education and personal interviews, especially in the field of education. And have a great day. Bye bye. Take care.